अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी। पिछले लेक्चर में पिछले दो लेक्चर्स जो लास्ट वीक के हमारे थे, वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अबाउट व्हाट इज स्ट्रेटेजिक मैनेजमेंट, व्हाट इज strategic needs, what are the operational needs, what is the difference between strategic and operational planning, strategic planning and operational planning, what is the difference between them. We have also talked about the strategies, we have talked about business models, we have also talked about the importance of strategic management, as well as we have started the strategic management process. Other than this, we have talked about the three views for strategy. Specifically, we have talked about IO approach, industrial organizational approach. We have talked about resource-based view, resource-based view approach. We also talk about triple bottom line. We have studied what these three theories have presented and what is the difference between these three parameters. Then we talk about SWOT. We talk about what is external analysis, what is internal analysis. If we have talked about the internal factors of the environment through which we can analyze the strengths and the weaknesses of the organization. We talk about the external environment, micro and macro, the factors included in the micro and macro, through which we can identify different opportunities, threats. We talk about the structure of uh, goals, the VN. What is the VN? We talk about what is mission, what are the objectives, goals, tasks, and action plans. We also talk about that we are going to have two type of objectives. One are the operational objective and the other are the strategic objectives. We talk about MBO, management by objective. Then we talk about that we need to have SWOT analysis. On the basis of SWOT, we make the strategies or we formulate the strategies, then we implement those strategies, we evaluate those strategies. Obviously, all of these things which are in front of you right now, we have discussed these steps. After that, we also discuss these 9 components of mission statement, as well as I have asked you to get some of mission statements and divide those mission statement into these 9 components. Identify okay, either all of the mission statements are going to have all of these components or not. Is there any mission statement which is going to miss some of the components out of these? And if it's so, what would be the impact of that mission statement onto the customer and onto the competition? So today we're going to have an overview of some more things like step 3, doing an internal analysis. As we have discussed earlier, that internal analysis is going to assess the organizational resources, capabilities, and activities. Even though I have given you many of the examples like process, policies, politics, financial skills, human skills, culture, goodwill, the technology you have, your research and development. By assessing these things, you can identify the strengths and the weaknesses. But what are the strengths? As it mentions, strengths create value for the customer and strengthen the comparative position of the firm. Recall some of the words which I have given you in the last class. That we have capabilities which we need to convert into the competences. And finally, we try to have or we try to convert our competences into the core competences. And when one of the competencies converted into the core competency, that gives you the comparative advantage. But the point is not that you have converted some of the competency into the core competency. The most important thing is you need to retain your core competences for the longer term. That creates your strength. And when we talk about the weakness can place the firm at a competitive disadvantage. It means the weakness you have, it's a strength of your competitor. Analyzing financial and physical assets is fairly easy, but assessing intangible assets, like we have talked about a few moments ago, human skills, culture, corporate reputation or goodwill, policies, procedures, it's not easy. It is the most difficult task to analyze them and evaluate them. So, step 2 and step 3, which we have discussed, step 2 in the last class and step 3 we have discussed now, when they're combined, they are going to be called the SWOT analysis. The analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. By analyzing these strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, we need to formulate the strategy. What it means by formulating the strategy? Formulating strategy means how you can use your strengths to target the market opportunities and helps to avoid the threats. Formulate strategy is also about how you can eliminate your weaknesses by focusing on your strengths towards the opportunities available. and avoiding the threats. So, in formulating strategy, we need to develop and evaluate different strategic alternatives. We need to create a lot of strategies and we have to analyze them. We have to evaluate them. Which strategy alternative we need to choose and which should not be. Second important part, the select appropriate strategies for all levels in the organization that provide relative advantage over competitors. We need to select those strategies which directly affect the competition and help us to have an edge onto the competitor's strategy. We need to match organization strengths to the environmental opportunities, as we have talked before, and correct the weaknesses and guard against threats. Well, step 5 is about implementation. Implementation means effectively fitting organization structure and activities to the environment. Can you recall a small video clip which I shown you in the last week, in which a ship is in the deep ocean and there is a storm condition, very turbulent environment, and ship is trying to survive, trying to adjust into that environment. And at that time I told you that organization, what it do, it look at the environmental changes and try to change itself according to those changes. It changes its structure, it changes its technology, it changes the skills, it changes its activities, processes, procedures, policies, many more things. The environment dictates the chosen strategy because strategy is in the line of the environmental changes. Effective strategy implementation requires an organization structure matched to its requirements because these strategies are going to govern the processes, the policies, the culture of the environment, and all of these things are going to have impact on the structure. So we should need to look at the organizational structure. Either it is going to have a good match with the chosen strategy or not. And the sixth step is evaluating the results. You need to evaluate either the strategy you have chosen was the right choice or you have done some mistake and you need to refocus, you need to improve your area. You need to find out what needs to be done. How effective have strategies been? What adjustments if any, are necessary. We need to look at this. Adjustments in environment, adjustments in culture, adjustments in policies, adjustments in structure. We need to find it out. Sorry. In concentration, growth strategy, an organization has a focus on the existing market and try to increase their market share in existing market area. On the other hand, vertical integration. In vertical integration, an organization has forward integration or the backward integration. Forward integration focus integration with the distributor, retailer. For example, an organization is going to start the franchising system. They should say that from now onward, our products are going to be sold out only on our franchises, and they start giving the licenses of franchise to different sellers. They merge themselves with the distributor. They acquire their supplier or the logistic partner. But when we talk about the horizontal integration, in horizontal integration, an organization is going to integrate with its competitor who are equal to them, who are working in the same area where your organization is working. And in growth strategy, the fourth strategy is the diversification. In diversification, an organization is going to have two type of diversification. Number one, related diversification, and number two, unrelated diversification. In related diversification, we can take the example of University of Central Punjab. When Punjab Group of Colleges has started the university, it was the related diversification. And then they have started the allied school system. It is also the example of related diversification. But coming into the business of news channel, it is the unrelated diversification by the Punjab Group of Colleges. So you can see here, focusing on a primary line of business and increasing the number of products offered or markets served. Vertical integration, backward vertical integration, attempting to gain control of inputs, or forward integration, attempting to gain control of output through control of the distribution channel or provide customer service activities by eliminating the intermediaries. Then we talk about the horizontal integration, combining operation with another competitor in the same industry to increase comparative strengths and lower competition among industry rivals. So it is the same thing as we have discussed earlier. Then the related diversification, expanding by combining with firms in different but related industries that are strategic fits. As we talk about, Punjab College has focused on university and school systems. And in unrelated diversification, we have talked about starting the news channel by Punjab Group of Colleges. It is the unrelated diversification. Now, we need to focus on the stability strategy, a strategy that seeks to maintain the status quo to deal with the uncertainty of a dynamic environment when the industry is experiencing slow or no growth conditions, or if the owner of the firm elect not to grow for personal reasons. Then the third part is the renewal strategies, developing strategies to counter organizational weakness that are leading to performance decline. Here we have the example of retrenchment first, focus of eliminating non-critical weaknesses and restoring strength to overcome current performance problem. You look at this, it eliminates non-critical weaknesses. It means organization is not going to have a critical weaknesses. And by eliminating such weaknesses, organization trying to overcome, or we can say restore the strength and overcome the current performances. Then turnaround, addressing critical long-term performance problems through the use of strong cost elimination measures and large-scale organizational restructuring solution. Here we can see that organization try to address critical long-term performance problems. It means these problems are going to focus on strategies. So organization need to focus on cost reduction and restructuring of the organization. Now we need to talk about the corporate portfolio analysis. Managers manage portfolio collection of businesses using a corporate portfolio matrix such as the BCG matrix. This is one of the very old mechanism. Now we have many more mechanisms which we're going to study in this semester. But initially we need to have a brief intro of the previous mechanisms which are available. So one of them is the BCG matrix. BCG matrix is developed by the Boston Consulting Group. They consider market share and industry growth rate. On one axis they take the market share and on the other they take the industry growth rate. And it creates a matrix, and matrix contains four parts: the cash cows, stars, question marks, and dogs. Cash cows are the area where the industry growth rate is low and market share is high. The stars, where the growth rate is high and the market share is high. Question marks is the area where industry growth rate is high but market share is low. And in dog, growth rate is low and market share is low. First of all, I talk about the cash cow. Cash cow is the area you can see that market has low growth rate, but your organization has high market share. So you have no need to invest into the advertisement activities, into the promotion activities, because the maximum market share which you can have, you already have that. So it is a time to sit back and enjoy the profit and focus on innovation of the new product areas for the future. Number two, you need to focus on the stars where the high growth rate is available and your organization is going to have high market share. In this area, If you're going to invest more money, more sales promotion, marketing promotion, product innovation, new products are going to be introduced, the higher and higher market share is going to be attained. But in question mark, you need to ask yourself that if industry growth rate is high, why your market share is low? It means the company needs to focus on their value proposition. The company needs to look at their direct competition, indirect competition, substitute products. They need to improve their marketing techniques. In the talks, this is the area where the most of the organization need to go out of the market. They have to switch their business. You can have a graphical representation over here. You can see at x-axis we are going to have market share, and a y-axis we are going to have an anticipated growth rate. And inshallah in future we'll learn how to measure it and how to apply the market share and growth rate and find out which products of your organization are the star, which products are the question marks, which products are the cash cows, and which products are the dogs. While talking about the corporate strategies, we have discussed many of the corporate strategies. Now we need to focus on the second level, the competitive strategies. Competitive strategy, a strategy focused on how an organization will compete in each of its strategic business units. It has focused on the competitive advantage and organization's distinctive competitive edge. If we try to recall the previous session, we're going to use the words of core competency of an organization and retention of the core competency. Many of the organizations use the quality as a competitive advantage. We can have many examples like iPhone, Samsung home appliances, many more. What they do, they differentiate the firm from its competitors. They can create a sustainable competitive advantage by using their quality. And it represents the company's focus on quality management to achieve continuous improvement and meet customers' demand for quality. Now, the question comes, what is the continuous improvement? It means no pauses between the improvement process. We are working on a cyclic improvement process. For example, we can take the example of Deming's wheel, which is going to be called as the PDCA cycle. P stand for plan, D stand for do, C stand for check, and A stand for act. PD CA. This is one of the most famous quality improvement process on continuous basis. The second thing, which was going to have a focus onto it, that's the sustainable competitive advantage. Continuing over time to effectively exploit resources and develop core competences that enable an organization to keep its edge over its industry competitors. Its main focus is that for how long you can keep your competitive advantage superior than the industry. Identify the sustainable competitive advantage. You need to focus on these five forces. Do you feel that we have studied these five forces? Yes, in the start of this chapter, when I asked you about external analysis, at that time I told you that external environment of an organization is going to be divided into the two parts. The first part is micro external environment, and the second part is macro external environment. So here we are going to talk about the micro external environment, which is going to have a focus on five forces, and these five forces are given by the micro portal. So the first force is intensity of rivalry among current competitors. Second is the threat of new entrants. Number three, bargaining power of suppliers. Number four, bargaining power of buyers. And number five is threat of substitute products. About threat of new entrants, the ease or difficulty with which new competitors can enter an industry. As a good player of the industry, we need to create the difficulty for the new competitors so we can retain a competitive advantage for the longer terms. Then the threat of substitute products. What are the substitute products? Like I need to have a glass of water, but someone offered me a juice. So juice is a substitute of water, or water is a substitute of juice. So the extent to which switching cost and brand loyalty affect the likelihood of customers adopting substitute products and services. Bargaining power of buyers. The degree to which buyers have the market strength to hold sway over and influence competitors in an industry. My dear students, if you try to think about this force, you'll get your answer by yourself. The price of every product is a result of bargaining power between the buyer and the manufacturer. If buyer is going to have more bargaining power, the manufacturer needs to reduce the price. But on the other side, if manufacturer is going to have more bargaining power, You increase the price of the product. Now, bargaining power of supplier. It is the same like the bargaining power of buyer, but now the bargaining power is going to be divided among the supplier and the manufacturer. The relative number of buyers to suppliers and threats from substitutes and the new entrants affect the buyer-supplier relationship. And the final word about the current rivalry, the fifth point. The intensity among rivals increase when industry growth rates slow, demand falls, and product price descends. Before that, all the competitors are enjoying the competition. But again, I want to repeat that when industry growth slows down, when demand is going to fall down and product price is going to descend, at that time its intensity increased. About the competitive strategies, these are also given by the Michael Porter. He has given the three main strategies, and many of the book authors are going to make some of the hybrid strategies, but what is the main focus that we need to learn the main three strategies. The first one is the cost leadership, seeking to attain the lowest total overall cost relative to other industry competitors. You know, the China has won the competition war through the cost leadership, through the lowest labor cost. Then it comes about differentiation strategy. It is an attempt to create a unique and distinctive product or service for which customer will pay a premium. You talk about the Samsung, why a person is willing to pay price of the price for a smart mobile Android mobile phone in comparison to many other companies, even the successful companies. Okay, let's talk about the Huawei and the Samsung. When a person moves from Huawei to Samsung, he has to pay the double price for the same features which Huawei is going to provide. But they are willing to pay the premium amount for their distinctive product or service. That is a differentiation strategy. And here the term comes of the quality. The third one is focus strategy, using a cost or differentiation advantage to exploit a particular market segment rather than a large market. Mean you're going to focus onto the niche. You start focusing on the niche market. That is a very valuable example, like Khusa in Pakistan, a traditional shoe which is called the Khusa, that is going to focus on a particular market segment. Many of the companies are going to focus onto the children market segmentation. They have a particular market segment. So this is a focus. So these are the directions which an organization can have in their strategies. to get some far above the expectations return. So, how we can create the strategic flexibility? You can see, know what's happening with strategies currently being used by monitoring and measuring the results. Encourage employees to be open about disclosing and sharing negative information. Number three, get new ideas and perspectives from outside the organization. Number four, have multiple alternatives when making strategic decisions. The final word is learn from the mistakes. So these are the few points which helps in creating strategic flexibility. There are some examples about strategies for applying e-business techniques. You can have focus on the cost leadership, online activities, bidding, order processing, inventory control, recruitment, and hiring. These activities you can perform online, but you need to be the cost effective. Then differentiation, internet-based knowledge system, online ordering, and customer support that creates a uniqueness in your services. Then focus, the chat rooms, that is a quite an old phenomena, old concept, but nowadays we can talk about the social media, blogs, targeted websites. These are the focus. About customer services strategies, as we have talked about three things previously: e-business, customer service, and the third one is innovation. So now we are at the second point, customer service strategies, giving the customer what they want. What customer want? Customer needs and wants is a big question. It is not about the product, it is about the philosophy. You need to focus on the philosophy of customer focus. Then communicating effectively with them. Whatever you're going to create for the customer, you must communicate it. Customer should know about it. That what an organization do for the customer. So they value your activities, your performances. The third thing is providing employees with customer service training. Your employees should be customer focused and you need to give the training about it. So they got to know that how much customer is important. Now, the innovation strategies. First thing is the possible events, radical breakthroughs in products, but we can plot the new things for the customers. Application of existing technology to new uses. You need to focus that how you can use the existing technologies and how you can get some new usage, new focus. For example, computers. That is not very new concept, but its usage for the communication brought a new application and it helps a lot. Managers need to take the strategic decisions about innovation. The first thing, they need to focus on the basic research. They need to focus on the product development by involving individual price and let them do something different. They're all experiments. They need to focus on the process innovation. And then talk about when some person is going to have innovation, they're going to be called the first movers, an organization that bring a product innovation to market or use a new process innovation. Now we need to talk about first mover advantages and disadvantages. First, let's talk about some of the advantages. The first advantage is reputation for being innovative and industry leader. Let's recall. I talk about the Sony Corporation in the last class with you people. They they have a reputation of innovation. They were the first one to introduce the Sony Walkman. They were the first one to introduce the Cybershot. They were the first one to introduce LCD TV. But you know, nowadays the first mover is not going to have that much advantage. And the fast forward, who's the fast forward? The Samsung. They have taken an edge onto the Sony products. Number two, cost and learning benefits of the first mover. They have the higher cost, but they need to learn how to create uniqueness into your product and how you can focus to reduce the price later on. Control over skills, resources, and keeping competitor from having access to them. That is another advantage of first mover, that they try to keep the secrets of the innovation. They try to focus that how to create the barrier for others. So they can't have the core competencies what the first mover organization is going to have. And then opportunity to begin uh, building customer relationship and customer loyalty. Customer relationship management, creating long-term customer relationship is the most worthiest phenomena for any organization, because if you have a good relationship with the customer, they would feel convenient by purchasing your product and they would become loyal to your product. This is all about the advantages, and now we are going to discuss some of the disadvantages of first mover. Like, the first disadvantage is uncertainty over exact direction technology and market will go. Many times the first mover have no knowledge what would be the future of this technology, and they invest too much amount into it and they didn't found that much return. Ultimately, the company needs to go out of the market. If I talk about a very well-known name of one of the famous internet browser, Netscape. Netscape was one of the most famous browser in one time, and nowadays no one knows even the name of that browser. They have set the standards into the internet browsing in the year 2000, 1999, 1998, 2001. They were the first mover, but they have invested a lot of amount into the field for which they didn't get the return, and ultimately they need to go out of the market. Number two, risk of the competitors imitating innovation. Many competitors, they imitate the activities you perform, they imitate the strategy you choose, they imitate the resources you have, and they imitate the innovations you do. And they have obviously the less cost than a first mover is going to have. So this is the main disadvantage for the first mover. It is more efficient and more valuable and going to have the high return to be a fast follower despite to be a first mover advantage, to be a first mover. The third and very important disadvantage is financial and strategic risks. You get financial losses if you fails because first mover is going to have a higher cost, as well as you're going to have strategic risks, loss of goodwill, loss of reputation, customer loyalty is going to be lost, many more things. So the fourth main disadvantage is high development costs. When an organization opts to be the first mover, they need to pay the high development cost. They need to focus onto the long-term returns. But if they unable to create the market, that cost create the cause for an organization to be sunk. So, so here is the end of this chapter. I'm going to upload some of the questions which you need to answer and make it possible that you perform this assignment till the next week. And inshallah, in the next class, we're going to start a new chapter. And now it's a time for the question and answers. So I'm here to answer your queries for the next 25 minutes. So in this chapter, if you are going to have any query, any question, you can ask me here. Please don't use mic for your answers, for your queries, because it is not possible for me to listen all the people at once. Uh, it is a better option that you type your questions as a message onto the board, and I answer your questions one by one. I'll submit the assignment till tomorrow onto your CMS. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.